All right, chapter 26, annotating a bibliography. The art of annotating a bibliography. When you start compiling research for your paper, you don't just collect sources, you engage with them. An annotated bibliography is one of the most valuable tools in that process. The rhetorical purpose of an annotated bibliography is to inform both yourself and others about the sources you are considering for your research. Not only will an annotated bibliography help you understand the larger conversation surrounding your topic, it will also allow you to reflect on how each source fits into your argument. It's more than a simple list of citations, it's an intellectual exercise that sharpens your thinking about the sources you're working with. In this lecture, we'll explore the key characteristics of an annotated bibliography and how to create one that is both concise and useful. What is an annotated bibliography? Let's start with the basics. An annotated bibliography consists of a list of citations to books, articles, and other sources you plan to consult. Instead of just listing these sources, you also provide a brief description or annotation for each one. The annotation serves two purposes. 1. It describes the source and summarizes its content. 2. It explains how you plan to use the source in your research or highlights its strengths and weaknesses. The annotation can be as short as a single sentence or as long as several paragraphs, depending on the assignment's requirements. While the length may vary, clarity and precision are key. Each entry should offer meaningful insight into the source. 2. Characteristic features of an annotated bibliography. An annotated bibliography has a few essential components. Let's break down what each entry should include. Complete bibliographic information. Follow the appropriate documentation style such as MLA or APA, depending on your assignment. The citation should be detailed enough that a reader could locate the source based on this information alone. Think of this as the foundation of your final works cited or reference page. Summary or description of the work. This part offers a brief summary of the source, including its topic, scope, and the author's stance. If the source reports on research, summarize the research methods. Focus on what's most relevant to your project. For example, you may want to describe the source's central argument, evidence, or conclusions. Be objective and accurate in representing the source's content. Even if you disagree with the source, your annotation should remain neutral. Evaluative comments if required. Some annotated bibliographies require you to evaluate each source. Consider the source's credibility. Is it authoritative? Is it current? Does it present multiple perspectives on the topic, or is it biased? Think about the strengths and limitations of the source. How thorough is the research? Is there any important information missing? Does the source rely on credible evidence? How the source will inform your research. Explain how you expect the source to contribute to your project. Ask yourself, does it offer a perspective you need to consider? Does it present new research or important facts? Does it include a thorough bibliography that might lead you to other valuable sources? How does it relate to your other sources? If you find that a source isn't useful, explain why. Sometimes the process of annotation helps you decide not to include a source, and that's perfectly fine. Not every source will make the final cut. I think this happens quite often, right? Sometimes you'll do some research and you'll just find that you have too much stuff, right? You have more sites that you don't need to use, and you've put too many. Hey, I don't need all of these. I only need a few different ones. So I do this quite often, right? You just do basic research. You save a bunch of stuff because you're just doing research, and you may or may not use that material later on when you're writing, right? So again, it's important to save everything, but you might not need to use everything later. Finding things that you don't use is almost as important as finding things you will use, right? Why annotating a bibliography is important. It's an organizational tool. Creating an annotated bibliography helps you stay organized during the research project. You're not just collecting information, you're actively engaging with it. Thinking critically about how each piece fits into your larger argument. Sense of the larger conversation. By summarizing each source, thinking about how it connects to other sources. You gain a broader sense of the conversation around your topic. What have experts already said? Where are the gaps in the research? This process will also help you see where your own research can make a contribution. Preventing plagiarism. Preventing plagiarism. By recording full bibliographic details and annotating how you plan to use each source, you create a clear record of your research. Can't do it today. Preventing plagiarism. By recording full bibliographic details and annotating how you plan to use each source, you create a clear record of your research. This helps prevent plagiarism by ensuring you have all the citation details you need when writing your paper. Reflecting on source value. Sometimes a source seems valuable when you first encounter it, but once you start annotating, you may realize it's not as relevant as you thought. Creating annotations forces you to consider how each source fits into your work, saving you from wasting time on irrelevant material later. Writing effective annotations. Let's go over the steps to writing an effective annotation. A. Start with complete bibliographic information. Always begin with a citation formatted according to the style required by your assignment, MLA, APA, etc. Again, in this class, it's APA. Summarize the main points. In a few sentences, summarize the source. Identify the main argument, the scope of the work, and the research methods if applicable. Highlight any information that is particularly relevant to your research. The example summary. Smith, John. The Impact of Climate Change on Coastal Communities. Penguin Books, 2020. In this book, Smith examines the effect of rising sea levels on coastal towns and cities, drawing on the case studies from the United States, Japan, and the Netherlands. Smith's research emphasizes the need for immediate action and provides suggestions for mitigating damages. The book is well sourced and provides detailed statistics and projections. Evaluate the source. If required, offer an evaluation. Consider the author's credentials, the date of publication, the type of evidence used, and whether the source addresses multiple perspectives. Is the source credible? How does it compare to other sources on the same topic? Example evaluation. Smith's book is authoritative, well-researched, and up-to-date, drawing on credible sources such as government reports and academic studies. However, it lacks input from indigenous communities who are also affected by climate change, which could be seen as a limitation. Describe how you will use the source. Finally, explain how the source will fit into your research. Will it provide background information, serve as evidence for your argument, or offer an opposing viewpoint? Example use. This book will be useful for providing background on the global impacts of climate change. I plan to use Smith's case studies as examples in my discussion of how different regions are responding to rising sea levels. Consistency in presentation. It's important to maintain consistency across your annotations. If you write in full sentences for one annotation, do the same for the others. If one annotation is a paragraph long, the others should be roughly the same length. This consistency makes your annotated bibliography easy to read and professional. Also remember, be concise. Stick to the main points and key details that are most relevant to your research purpose. In conclusion, creating an annotated bibliography is an essential step in the research process. It helps you stay organized, reflect on your sources, and engage with the ongoing conversation surrounding your topic. By practicing these skills, you'll not only produce better research, but also ensure that your final paper is well supported and thoroughly researched. The annotated bibliography is more than just a list of citations. It's a tool for critical thinking and organization that will serve you throughout your academic career. Take the time to craft thoughtful, concise annotations, and you'll find that your research process becomes clearer and more effective. Chapter 27, Synthesizing Ideas. Synthesizing ideas from sources to your voice. When conducting research, one of the most important skills you'll develop is the ability to synthesize ideas. Synthesis involves bringing together information from multiple sources to create something new, a cohesive understanding or argument. It's about moving from simply reporting what your sources say to making connections, drawing conclusions, and adding your own voice to the conversation. Today, we'll explore how you move from summarizing your sources to synthesizing them, and ultimately how to integrate your ideas with the information you gather in your research. This process is crucial for creating well-rounded arguments that reflect a broad understanding of the topic. What is synthesis? At its core, synthesis is the process of weaving together ideas from different sources to form a coherent whole. But it's not about patching together pieces of information like a collage. It's about thinking critically and combining those ideas in a way that brings new understanding. The key concept. Synthesis helps you move beyond simply quoting or paraphrasing the sources. It allows you to identify connections between ideas, patterns across different arguments, and even contradictions. From there, you can contribute your own voice, guiding your reader through the larger conversation. Synthesizing the ideas in your sources. When you start synthesizing information from your source, ask yourself some key questions to guide the process. These questions will help you see the bigger picture. A. What issues, problems, or controversies do your sources address? Identify the core issues discussed in your sources. These could be topics like climate change, social justice, or technological advancements. What's at the heart of these discussions? What do your sources have in common? Look for similarities across your sources. Ideas, facts, examples, statistics. Are there authors or works that are cited in more than one source? This can help you see which sources are foundational to the conversations. What significant differences do you find among sources? Identify different stances, positions, or purposes. Look at the type of evidence your sources use. Some might rely on statistics, others on case studies or expert opinions. Are the conclusions similar, or do they differ in major ways? Do your sources refer to or build upon each other? Does one source provide details or explanations that build on what another source has said? Does one source respond directly to arguments made in another? The goal here is to understand how your sources interact with each other. What is being said about your topic as a whole? Once you get a sense of how the sources connect, you can start to form your own understanding and contribute your ideas. 3. Moving from what your sources say to what you say. As a researcher, you'll always be working to synthesize the information from your sources. At the same time, you'll be striving to connect this data to your own ideas and research goals. In this way, synthesis becomes the bridge between what others have said and what you want to say. Here are some questions to help you make the transition. A. How do the ideas and information in your sources address your research question? What answers do your sources provide to your research question? What information stands out as the most relevant or persuasive? And how do these ideas support your thesis? Do the ideas from your sources expand or modify your thesis? Do they suggest new angles or way to revise your argument? What viewpoints in your sources do you agree or disagree with? Consider why certain viewpoints resonate with you and why others do not. This will help you determine how to engage with these ideas in your writing. D. What conclusions can you draw from the ideas and information you've gathered? What discoveries have you made through your research? How have your ideas evolved as a result of reading these sources? And have you encountered any ideas you would like to build on or challenge? Is there a particular argument or perspective you find compelling enough to expand on in your own work? From everything you've read, what is the significance of the topic you're researching? Consider the so what factor. Why does this topic matter and who cares about it? Understanding the broader significance will help you make your arguments more persuasive and relevant. By synthesizing the ideas from your sources, you're entering the larger conversation around your topic. Your task is not just to report what others have said, but to add your own voice and perspective. 4. Entering the conversation. After carefully analyzing your sources, you can start contributing to the conversation. This is where your voice and your unique ideas come into play. In college writing, this often happens when you develop a research question, conduct research, and then synthesize your findings with your original ideas. Think of your research as a conversation. Your job is not just to listen passively, but to participate actively. When you engage in this conversation, you're no longer simply reporting facts. You're presenting your own informed viewpoint, supported by credible research. 5. Literature reviews, surveying the conversation. In many academic settings, synthesizing ideas from sources results in a literature review. A literature review is a focused survey of relevant research on a topic. You may be asked to write a literature review as part of a research paper or as a standalone assignment. Characteristic features of a literature review. A. Survey of relevant research on a focused topic. The sources you review should be credible, relevant, and focused on a specific topic. The choice of literature should align with your research question, and it should include all the foundational sources that inform your study. Fair-minded synthesis and summary of the literature. Once you've gathered your sources, synthesize them by looking for connections, trends, or themes. For example, researchers writing about climate change have generally taken one of 3 perspectives: economic, environmental, or social. Each perspective contributes to our understanding of the issue in different ways. C. Evaluation of the literature. Your evaluation should point out the strengths and weaknesses of the research. Are there important questions left unanswered? Are some claims made with insufficient evidence? This helps you identify gaps that future research might address. And clear organization. Organize your literature review by chronology, if it makes sense to follow a historical progression. Themes or topics, research methods, results or findings. Finding connection among your sources will not help you synthesize information. It will also allow your reader to see significant patterns and trends. E. Complete and accurate documentation. Be sure to follow the proper style guide for citing and documenting sources. For guidance, refer to the MLA or APA chapters in your textbook, chapter 30 and 31. In conclusion, synthesis is at the heart of effective research writing. It's about more than just repeating what your source says. It's about making connections, drawing new conclusions, and adding your voice to the larger conversation. As you work on your research projects, remember that synthesis is an ongoing process. Your ideas will grow and evolve as you engage with more sources and think more deeply about your topic. Embrace this process of discovery and use it to strengthen both your research and your writing. Advanced revision strategies, polishing beyond grammar. Many students think of revision as just fixing typos or improving sentences, but true revision goes much deeper. While basic editing helps with clarity and correctness, advanced revision strategies focuses on refining ideas, restructuring arguments, and ensuring every word has a purpose. Today, we'll explore specific strategies to take your revision process to the next level and make your writing as effective as possible. We'll focus on 4 key strategies: global revision, reverse outlining, cutting the clutter, and tone voice consistency. 1. Global revisions, focusing on the big picture. Global revisions look at the larger structure and content of your paper rather than sentence-level concerns. This process ensures that your argument flows logically and the structure enhances rather than hinders your message. Questions to ask during global revisions. Is my thesis clear and specific? Make sure your thesis clearly presents your argument and remains the guiding point of your paper. Do my ideas flow logically from one to the next? Ensure that each paragraph connects back to your main thesis. Ask yourself, is this paragraph advancing my argument or is it off topic? Are there gaps in my argument? Look for areas where your argument might need further evidence or where you might need to address counterarguments. And then, is my conclusion strong? Does your conclusion not only restate your thesis, but also provide insights, implications, or thoughts on further research? Strategy. Considering putting your paper out and reading it in a different order, back to front, or reading only your topic sentences. This helps you focus on how well each section connects to the larger argument. 2. Reverse outlining, a tool for structural refinement. Reverse outlining is an effective way to check the organization of your paper after you've written the draft. By creating an outline from your draft, you can see whether the structure works or if it needs adjustment. How to reverse outline. Step 1. Read through your paper and write down the main point of each paragraph in the margins. Step 2. Look at the outline you've created. Does each point follow logically from the one before? Are there any gaps in your argument or places where your paper goes off track? Step 3. Compare your outline to your thesis. Does each paragraph support your thesis? If not, it may need to be revised or removed. Why reverse outlining works. This strategy helps you step back, see the skeletons of your paper, allowing you to focus on the flow of ideas rather than getting bogged down in sentence level issues. Cutting the clutter. Achieving clarity and precision. One of the most challenging aspects of revision is learning to cut unnecessary words and phrases. While it's tempting to hold on to every sentence you've written, stronger writing often comes from reducing excess. Common issues to look for. Redundant phrases. Are you repeating yourself? For example, advanced planning or end result both say the same thing twice. Wordiness. Are you using too many words to make a simple point? Consider how much you can condense without losing meaning. Empty phrases. Phrases like, in my opinion, or it is important to note, often weaken your argument rather than strengthen it. How to cut the clutter. Be direct. Instead of saying due to the fact that, say because. Eliminating unnecessary qualifiers. Words like very, really, and quite often don't add meaning. This is something that I'm guilty of. I often try to say, you did a really great job here. I get redlined for it all the time. It's something I try to avoid myself. Focus on verbs. Use strong active verbs. Instead of saying, is helping to solve, try solves for a clear, more direct sentence. Tone and voice consistency. Maintaining cohesive style. Tone and voice are often overlooked during revision, but maintaining consistency is key to ensuring your paper feels cohesive. Tone refers to the emotional quality or mood of your writing, while voice refers to your unique writing style. Questions to ask. Does the tone fit the purpose of the paper? Is your tone too casual, too formal for your audience? Are you using consistent voice? Are there sections where your writing style changes suddenly? For example, shifting from a formal academic style to a conversational tone can be jarring for readers. Is the tone appropriate for the subject matter? A serious research topic requires more formal tone, while a creative essay might allow for more flexibility in voice. How to revise for tone and voice. Read through your paper, looking specifically for areas where the tone shifts. If you've suddenly switched from formal to casual language, revise for consistency. Be mindful of how tone shifts can affect your argument. For example, a sarcastic or flippant tone can undermine a serious point. Seeking feedback. The power of peer review. Sometimes the best revisions comes from feedback. Another pair of eyes can catch issues that you've missed, whether they're related to structure, argument, or clarity. Strategies for seeking effective feedback. Be specific. When asking for feedback, let your peer reviewer know exactly what you're looking for. Do you want feedback on the flow of your argument, the strength of your thesis? Don't just fix surface level issues. While grammar and punctuation are important, focus on getting feedback on content, structure, and argumentation. And then ask for big picture questions. Does my argument make sense? Is the structure easy to follow? Are there any parts where I lose you? Conclusion. Advanced revision isn't just about fixing small errors. It's about refining your paper at every level, from the global structure down to sentence level clarity. By focusing on global revisions, using tools like reverse outlining, cutting clutter, maintaining a consistent tone, and seeking peer feedback, you'll not only polish your writing but also sharpen your thinking. Remember, a great paper isn't written in a single draft. It's crafted through careful, thoughtful revision.